Hey guys, I had an amazing chat with Pranav and Nishant, the founders of Nino Foods, who run Francesco, Nino Burgers, and KHA. We spoke about how Pranav actually started his career in media and entertainment when he was an aspiring actor. Nishant began his journey with landmark brands and then shifted his focus to business, attending B school in Singapore, how he founded a cloud kitchen called Nino, the origins of the name Nino, the lessons they learned from all their failed the lessons they learned from all their failed brands, Kudo, and others, utilizing diverse marketing channels for sustainability, evolution of Kha from a concept to a fried chicken brand, current growth models, the 5 behind the scenes metrics that every food founder must track. We also discuss the role of technology in running their business. And most importantly, we discuss essential qualities that every food founder and every food leader should have. And last but not the least is what skills that every food founder should have. Amazing episode, amazing founders. I had a lot of fun talking to them. I'll see you guys in the inside. I've been a huge fan. Me and my son are both huge fans of Francesco, right? That's how I got to know about Nino Foods. And then I found out later on that Nino Burgers also was yours. So I first knew of Francesco, then I found out Nino Burgers. And then recently I found out about Kha, right? Before we jump into all the brands and all, what all you've done, I would love to know what each one of you did before this idea was born. Start with you.
So I wanted to be an actor. That was the first dream, right? And so what I did was I went to college in Indiana University in America, and then I came back here, and that's what I wanted to attempt to do. And then my uncle, who is in Bollywood, he said it's very, very difficult, and I was like, should I take the plunge or not take the plunge? So I went into media and entertainment just to kind of get some experience. So I worked at UTV.
Oh, nice.
Then Disney came in, and I was working in new media, so like YouTube was picking up at that time. And then I set up the same thing for Condé Nast, so Vogue, GQ. I worked for them for a bit, and then I went and joined my uncle to start a venture in media and in entertainment. It was called Fuck the Couch. Yeah, so he's
Nice.
he wanted to create like a safe environment for like actors to find work, and we did attempt to do that, like at least 95% of it, and that's where I was like, okay, now I need to like build my own business. I can't go and do a job. So I was doing a lot of like media and entertainment stuff, like kind of on the border of like trying to be in front of the camera and like try and entertain people. And so yeah, I was in that zone for like 2-3 years, and in those 2-3 years after doing F the Couch, I did a bunch of like, I was doing all kinds of projects, like in events. I was managing social media pages. I was working for some social company in Barcelona, all free projects. Like I was just like trying to find my one thing like as fast as I could, because I was like about 29 at that time. And one of the 10 things was me sending a message he put up a job interview on a random website called Disco, right? It's not like your typical website that you would go to apply for jobs like LinkedIn and stuff. And he had put up a role for like head of ops. And I had sent him an email saying that, hey man, this looks interesting. Like, let's connect. And so that's how like I came into this space, and we kind of connected. And he's actually my brother's like friend, and we've known each other since childhood. So he called me, he's like, bro, it's me. And then, so it was easier to kind of like, so yeah, that was my journey. I was in media and entertainment. I still entertain my friends and my family and people at work. And so I do get my piece of that. And yeah, of course, like building a biz with Nish it's
Nice.
been great. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. How you transferred your energy and passion from, wanting to be an actor to still being around that space. I think that's very important if you want to be happy in life. Even if you can't be the thing you really want to be, still being in that space, I think it still feeds your creative side. Right?
Yeah, I think on the foundation of it, like my main thing now is like in your daily life, Pranav, like try and see how many people you can make smile or laugh, like with your jokes and stuff that you anyway naturally do, right? So that's now become my thing.
Nice.
Like if I go to any like restaurant or if I go anywhere, I'm talking to anyone, I'll always try to throw in like a comment which will make them smile or like that kind of scene now.
So this reminds me of a conversation I had with my daughter a few days ago. She's like 9.
Huh.
And we are discussing meaning of life. Now, don't ask me why I discuss meaning of life with my 9-year-old daughter, but I did discuss meaning of life with my 9-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
And I think the answer I gave her was, I think meaning of life is you being happy. And 2, anyone you come across, if you're able to even give them an ounce of joy
Yeah.
in any form,
Yeah.
I think you're done. You don't need to like win awards. You don't need to do anything. If you are happy and you're able to keep somebody, people in your circle or people you cross happy.
Yeah.
I think according to me, that was a big meaning of life. So when you said this,
Good
I was like,
karma, right?
hey, you're coming very close to the meaning of life. So
Yeah, and it's good karma, right? Like you're at peace. You know
Absolutely.
what you're doing is like positive because if they're smiling or laughing, then they must be going through their own things, right? In that day, and it's an unexpected encounter where they are able to kind of get something positive out of it.
Love it.
It's good for you, like
100%.
building good
100%.
karma. Yeah.
Nishant, what was your journey till you started Nino?
So mine was very different than Pranav's, but also like equally random. So I was actually working at, after I'd done my undergrad and had come back to India, I was trying to figure out what to do. So after spending a little bit of time in my father's business, like most people do, so my dad's in like the jewelry space. So I spent about a year with him. Realized that maybe I really couldn't add much value in a space where people that have been in the space for, say, the way you win in that space, I feel like is by being in there for longer. If you've been there for 50 years, you can outcompete a guy that's come like me, who's just joined for a year. So I wanted to play in an industry or in a space where I could either learn very fast or either the whole industry is only new, so no one could outcompete me purely because they've been there longer. So then what happened was I got a really cool opportunity to join the founder of this company called Landmark Cars. They basically are right now India's largest automotive like dealership chain.
Correct.
They sell everything from Mercedes, like Mercedes, Volkswagen, Honda, and a bunch of other brands.
Correct.
So I actually got to work with the promoter and founder of that group.
Nice.
Got to shadow him for about 3 years across verticals, and they had raised some money from TPG in 2016 as well. So I got really good exposure to the private equity side of it, the heavy operating side of it, to the cars, insurance, and finance business.
Lovely.
And just like what a chief of staff or like a person that in a founder's office would do, just like get on every task that mattered to, say, the promoter or the founder. I was fortunate enough to get the chance to do that. So that was like really cool. I feel like a lot of what I've learned about not just like business, but managing people, how to like infuse humor in tense situations, where you're dealing with many stakeholders, where you have, like right now we have tons of stakeholders, right? We have customers, investors, employees, and a bunch of others. So I think managing many stakeholders at the same time while still maintaining your like mental cool, I learned in that phase. After that, I kind of tapped out. After 3 years, I realized I wanted to like explore something else. So I quit that job. And I was figuring, and like when I was doing my exit interview with the person at that time, they were like, why don't you just apply to business school? NCR is a good place. And I applied. So that was the only place I applied to. I applied to this business school called NCR. It's in Singapore and France. And it was more like a filler where I was like, okay, I'm not sure what I want to do next, but I want to learn. So did that. I got in and I did that for a year. And I thought that that will tell me what I wanted to do, but it actually told me what I didn't want to do. So like,
But that's I think equally important.
yeah. So I got a zoomed out perspective of what my life could look like as a consultant, investment banker, private equity, say analyst or associate, or any of the typical post MBA professions. And I realized that honestly, I wanted to be around India or Singapore or just Southeast Asia. That's why I spent most of my time in the Singapore campus, somewhere close to startups. So I applied to a lot of late stage startups. Like I was actually very close to joining Oyo as the number 2 in Singapore. But around that time, they were going through a lot of craziness. So then that didn't work out. But that was the phase that I was in. And after I came back to Bombay, I couldn't even stay on in Singapore for a while because I couldn't afford the rents beyond a point without a job. Came back to India, relatively frustrated, I would say, in 2020, early 2020. And I was like, that's the point where that click happened, where I think in Feb or March, when you're searching for jobs, you start with, okay, I have like 20 filters. Then you'll have 10 filters when you don't get them. I had got to the stage where I was applying for anything. So one day I was like, bro, what is going on? Like, what are you doing? You've accomplished a decent amount. You're a smart person. Like, why are you like compromising on this? Then I'm reading news about all these people who I feel are not that much maybe smarter than me. Like building companies are like making a lot of money. So I was like, you know what? Like, let me just give it a shot. That's how this whole seed of starting something actually started. Just it was purely out of frustration. And then in say March, April, I had the idea, cloud kitchens were coming up, and the initial idea was actually to set up like a WeWork for cloud kitchens where you build out the infrastructure, sublease to cloud kitchens.
Nice.
In hindsight, super capital intensive model, which I wouldn't encourage now. But that was the initial seed of the idea. Around then is when what Pranav said happened. We found each other. And then through Pranav, actually, like his friend who he knew was looking to sell Francesco's because it was COVID and it was a restaurant which was actually...
Which is what I was wondering. I'm like, one sec, Francesco's
Yeah.
is older than this. That's what I was wondering.
Exactly.
I'm like, how did... I was trying to figure out the timeline in my head.
Yeah, so it's a 10, 12-year-old brand.
Huh.
And
That's what I was thinking.
the previous founder, Mikhail, who ran Francesco's, was in a space where he wanted to do something else. And he was like, guys, I know you're all tinkering out in the food space. If you want to maybe take it over, you could.
Nice.
So that's how this whole thing happened. And we both so we have this thing where we take all important decisions on the C-Link. The banter wali. All important calls. Something is there. Some energy is there. Yeah. We decided to start Nino Burgers there. We decided to acquire Francesco's there. So some energy. Maybe we need to go there more often together. Yeah. So that's when this happened.
You all stay in Bandra?
No, we both actually live 5 minutes from each other. We live in South Bombay.
Okay. No, I thought since you're using C-Link so much, must be...
No, I don't know why.
We were going to see some
properties.
big cloud kitchens because we were going to do that business, right? Where we were going to house brands, but...
Yeah.
Nice.
So
we're traveling all over Bombay in that time together.
Love it.
Getting to know each other also more, spending more time together. So that was that zone.
So you started Nino with making Nino Burgers, or did you start Nino by acquiring Francesco?
Francesco's. So
Lovely.
Started off the business by...
It's very rare that I meet somebody who's acquired a food brand and made it more successful. I know a few people who are trying to acquire food brands, but they find it very difficult. Two, I know a couple of people who acquired food brands but could not run them. I mean, the person who sold it because it was going down. So the other person thought, I'll be able to turn it around, and they weren't. I'm so happy to meet you guys that you were able to take a smaller food brand and make it larger. Right? And Francesco, I think it was decently sized also.
Yeah.
It had 5-10 outlets when you bought them? Or?
No, just one.
Oh, that
because of COVID, they had shut everything down.
Oh.
Because obviously you had a bunch of...
Oh, you got it in COVID. Nice. Okay. So I'm assuming you got a good deal and you got a good brand.
So actually, the way I look at it is the way I feel like Pranav and me see it is now is that we got a great deal in the short term, but Mikhail got a great deal in the long term because we got some equity in our business, which at that time was a business just on paper. So we gave him a small piece and now he's quite happy.
He bet on the right horses.
On the right horses. And that's brilliant. So what made you start Nino Burgers?
We wanted to prove to ourselves that we could build a brand, not just buy one.
Yeah.
It was just that.
Nice.
It wasn't very...
And how did you all form the name? Like, where did Nino Foods come from? Like, Nino Burgers came first or Nino Foods came first? And
No, it's a very easy one. So, my name is Nishant. First two letters are N-I. His pet name in school was Nons. So, N-O. So, that's how Nino. N-I and N-O.
I would not have guessed that.
Yeah.
Come like 1 second. It should be Nipar. Nipar. Like, 1 second. Why is it Nino?
Nipra Burgers.
Doesn't have the same ring to it.
Exactly, doesn't have the same ring to it. And
name is important though in
course.
building the brand, and we can touch upon that later. But it's Nipra probably with the same menu wouldn't
have done as well. Nipra Burgers wouldn't have done well. Yeah. No, but let's actually touch upon that, right? So when you talk about brands and you bought a brand, you created 2 brands. What has been your biggest learning from creating a brand?
There's there's no set formula for it, right? I think with Francesco's, we bought the brand. So we just had to kind of figure out how to take it to the next level with that brand. But with Nino, I mean, now looking back, it's food that we both like, right? It is a gourmet brand. So that's food that we anyway usually are accustomed to. We don't need the tier 2, tier 3 type of, quality of food. So that was easy. And we were just having fun with it, honestly, with Nino, right? Even with the name now, looking back, usually names that are shorter to 4 letters, 3 letters kind of,
work better.
Which has a ring to it, is always a good one to go with. But there's no set formula really. You have to choose your cuisine type because cuisine type also determines your market size. Then right place, right time. What does the audience want at that time? At that time, there was no like gourmet premium burgers. I think Good Flipping had also like was 3 months or 4 months in, right?
Nice. So
And
you all
I-
started almost about the same time.
Yeah, and then I think like we just went deep in influencer marketing and giving people free food because we had no money. Like we had no money. Literally after setting up the second kitchen in Bandra, from data, because like okay, where did Francesco's do the second most like amount of revenue per month? Bandra. We went and set up in Bandra, and that's automatically started kicking in, right? At that time, we had already spent our money on taking the Chems Corner outlet, and so we were like, okay, now what do we do? The best thing we can do is just let's make the burgers and start sending out to like friends and family.
Nice.
So I think the again marketing channel at the right time, yeah, choosing the cuisine at the right category with the right name. So it's like there's a bunch of different things. And looking back, we did actually start like 5 other brands before KHA.
Oh.
And all didn't work. Nino was like this one shot, like
lot of trial and error, lot of
we did a lot of we did a
Give me. I mean, I probably don't know the failed brand, or if I know the name, I probably didn't know it was yours. Can you give me an example of a brand that failed, and why do you think it failed?
Yeah, so
If you're okay talking about
yeah,
it.
100%. So 2 things. One is on your question of like this whole brand question that you asked Pranav. I feel like unless you're doing 30, 40 lakhs a month, there's no brand conversation. So I think before scale, there's no brand, and there's no point having those conversations only. I feel like sometimes they get very creative in rooms. Oh, what's our brand identity? I was like, get PMF first, then think about identity. So that's my take. Like it's a bit more like it's a bit more practical, I feel. In terms of failed brands, so there's this one brand we started called Kudo, which was really close to our heart actually. We started after Nino. It was a bowls brand. So again, we use the same Nino logic saying, okay, look, what are we customers for? And what do we want to like eat and make? So everything from like tofu, soy, soba noodles bowls to like chicken and fried rice, like the halal guys style that fried chicken and rice.
Yeah.
It had bunch of other like these very Western with Indian twists, like even like from paneer makhani bowl as well. So it had really good flavors. Main learning was we didn't optimize for supply chain. At that time, we were really early on, and the brand had too many SKUs. Inventory was very confusing. So food cost was not trackable, and ideally if you want to maintain like a 28-30% food cost with packaging, this had maybe 40%. But in the whole fun spirit of building the brand, we're like, chalo, we'll figure. And I think in Nino, we got lucky with a couple of things where the PMF was so strong that we could a little bit reiterate. But with things like salads and like a little bit more premium gourmet ingredients, like all these soba noodles and all this fancy stuff, we didn't optimize and realize how complicated supply chain and managing that would be. So a lot of stock outs, and then pricing would not fit in what people are willing to pay for it. That was the learning there.
Got it. And where did you apply that learning? Did you land up applying that learning in any of your other businesses?
In KHA. KHA is the example of the light, fast, hyper growth brand, which is like a culmination of all our learnings from all the failed brands we built.
Yeah.
So,
I am a big believer that failure is not opposite of success. It's actually a part of it. If you want to succeed, you should fail.
yeah.
You should fail fast, right? And most importantly, whenever you fail, don't let it deject you.
Yeah.
Learn from those failures, because if you learn from those failures, they're no longer failures, they're lessons,
Yeah.
right? It's like an MBA. Like every failed company, I have 6 failed companies.
Yeah.
Every failed company has like a full MBA that I have. My companies have failed within 6 months, also within 6 years, also.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm the one who shut them down because either not a great product or market fit, not a great product founder fit. Like great idea, great company. I am not the right person to run it. I was running an HR consulting company, like hiring for the BPO industry.
Yeah.
I'm not the right guy to hire. I mean, I thought it was a great business. Then I realized how dirty it is.
Yeah.
Now, funny enough, I run a BPO.
What was your learning from that, running this agency?
Like whenever you're running an HR agency, especially BPOs, it is such a dirty market. It's an extremely dirty market. What that means is the companies which are hiring, I don't want to name the big boys. The HR will actually tell you things like, oh, don't, you're giving the CV. Oh, but I'm not going to put it in the company's name. I'm going to put it in your name, or I'm going to put it in my wife's name. I'm going to put my husband's name. So each of these HRs have their own agency. The CV comes from you, goes through them, they hire, they pay they tell you, oh, we don't have the time. It gets dirty very quick. Like I had like 20-25 people in that company. Ran it for like a good 9 months, made anda. Because I was not in it the whole time. I wasn't tracking all of this. I'm like, oh, I got a couple of good guys. I'm like, oh, they'll run it. It just went haywire, right? So then I realized that get into something, one, where you're truly passionate about it. Two, where you can, when you have the bandwidth to jump in and spend 6 months at ground, filling out the form, making the calls, meeting the clients. If you're not able to do it, don't. That was my big learning from it. Like if you can't understand the 100% of that whole industry, don't jump into it. Right. So each of my failures have taught me something. We ran another thing where we used to do hygiene audits for restaurants and we called it hygiene shield. We used to actually give this big shield, like a steel shield. If you have a restaurant and we audit you and you pass, we used to give you a shield. Spent ton of money developing it, developing an app, marketed it like crazy, spent tons of money marketing it. We didn't even sell 10. Single digits. And we were selling at like 20, 25 grand. So you can imagine how much money you made versus how much you spent.
Yeah.
My learning from this. So I went and spoke to a lot of guys who bought and who didn't renew and people who didn't buy. They were like, one sec, if somebody walks into my restaurant and then sees your hygiene shield, it means nothing. He's already in my restaurant. He's not going to order more because he's like, how can you help me buy? He's like, I'm okay spending 20 grand as a restaurant. Once a year, 20 grand is fine. As marketing, like how will it help me drive more sales? And I couldn't. I didn't have a website. I didn't have enough volume to help have people come there. So the learning from there was whatever you do in certification, people should be able to see it before they choose you. Later on, a few years, so this whole thing shut down. A few years later, we partnered up with Zomato. We partnered up with Swiggy. And today we've audited like 3-4 lakh restaurants across the country.
Wow.
Through them. We have a 700 people auditing.
Crazy.
Because with them, we were able to expand fast. They are doing the marketing, we are doing the operations. We realized on this, we are better at operations.
It's like half the restaurants on Zomato, right? They have like 6 lakh restaurants on the platform.
So for Zomato and Swiggy both.
Yeah.
Right. So we've done, and this was just pre-pandemic. This was at its peak. Funny enough, pandemic began and both the companies stopped auditing, which was very counterintuitive for me. They were doing it to save costs for the restaurant here. So I understand where they're coming from. But my mindset was, one sec, pandemic, hygiene is super critical. People will want to see that rating and people who have done the audits will possibly get more business than people who didn't do the audits. So people who didn't do the audits will want to make it, will get the the audits done. But both the companies almost at the same time shut off. 3-4 months when the pandemic was being like in December, where there was rumors of pandemic started somewhere, that's when they shut it off, and which didn't make sense to me. Good part is they've started, right? So anytime there's any failure, whether it be a company or a project, at Equinox we write down what went well, because obviously some things went well.
Yeah.
What are the things that didn't go well? What do you think that went well when you started Koda?
With Kudo?
Kudo.
That was a brand that failed.
Something must have gone well also.
Yeah, so as in I think we benchmarked it to the Francesco and Nino like success, right?
Yeah.
From month one. So I think there was a little bit of also our own impatience, but I think that was the right decision in the long run. Because it wasn't anywhere close to like how Nino had taken off. And I think operationally basically we took different world cuisines, right? So that had different preps required at each cloud kitchen, and we were going a little crazy trying to manage that. Plus, like we have Nino and Francesco also. Like, how much should we dilute ourselves? The revenue is like okay. So these were like some of the things that we did think about. But what was good about it was like the flavors were amazing. Like
The food was sick, and the fried chicken and rice that
the halal guys chicken and rice. People were ordering it like 2-3 times. 2-3 times.
And that was, when you tell them, when you like say shut down, do people care? That was one thing where when we shut that brand down, like a lot of people asked me and I'm like, keep the brand off, but put this product in one of your other brands.
I was about to say that.
Like,
It's such a, if it sounds so good, it should actually just be like, hey, but I don't think it fits.
Yeah, it's a focus thing as well.
Francesco, you can't be like, oh, here is some chicken and rice.
And even if it did
or
that,
neither is Nino Burger Chicken, here's chicken and rice.
Correct.
But it can be a part of KHA.
Yeah, let's see. Right now we don't have rice in the menu for KHA. But down the line, anything is possible.
What inspired you to start KHA?
Failed fast.
Yeah, see,
Failed fast.
so KHA actually, like right now, it's easy to say. Right now, the way to think about KHA is like a desi KFC. So it's like we're trying to say that building an Indian brand, and like India does fried chicken better. You don't need to go to like KFC or anywhere else, Nashville or anywhere else to try fried chicken, because we know how to do it better. The prices are better as well.
And the taste is better too. So try KHA. We're across 20 locations in Mumbai right now. And we're going to build 600.
Nice.
Sorry, I had to plug that. I was waiting to see where I could plug it in.
So basically for KHA, we started off thinking about, okay, in the munchies category, you're sitting with someone, we were having a discussion They're like, there's no pan-India scaled Munchies brand. Where it's just fries, saucy fries, like a playful brand with just like snacky type food. Could be for midday or late night. That was the idea. So then we were doing research. We said, okay, let's start a brand with focus mainly on like French fries and sauces and a little bit of like snacks on the side. Like could be nachos and other things. Then in conversation, one of our like people that we speak with, they were like, just add burgers. You're like, but then we have to add bread and it's another SKU and all of that. Just add burgers, let's see. And we saw only burgers were selling. After we launched the first location. Then like, okay, so now it's become another burger brand like Nino. Like, what exactly are we doing? But obviously, it was in the mass space. So pricing is from 99 rupees to like 299. Where Nino is starting from 299 to 699.
Correct.
So very different space altogether.
Correct.
So this is like cheaper than McDonald's as well. Then when we had the fried chicken angle, like we launched a couple of fried chicken SKUs in the burgers and like chicken popcorn just to see. After a month, 70% of sales were just chicken products. So then Cart over 3 months became a fried chicken brand where 70% SKUs are like fried chicken and classic chicken burgers and popcorn and tenders and all that. And then we have veg burgers as well. And just like veg appetizers as well.
Yeah.
That's what the focus is.
We let the customers choose what works. And this is what moved. And we looked at data and we're like, look, this is clearly, there's a pull. When you feel that product market fit pull, like we'll go in that direction.
Of course.
And then we've like now over-indexed for it. And that's been the...
Yeah, also this, because of the 5 like failures, we didn't believe that we had PMF. Even though like the first location, second location were picking up some pace, we were like, boss, like it's too good to be true right now. Like we get excited usually, and last 6 times it's not been good. So we waited for the third location, and then all 3 we saw them all picking up pace, and we were like, okay, I think now we are like on to our like third baby.
Yeah.
And the transition is quite cool because we were actually like 2 guys when we came into the industry. We were 2 guys like super excited to like add all types of things into all menus, right? And now, like if you even tell us, can you add this sauce to the menu? We'll be like, boss,
no.
Like operationally, no, not happening. Like we're not going to do it.
Somebody
right?
has to convince you a lot to make any kind of course. Because you burnt your fingers.
Now it's a bit more like in cycles. It's more structured because you can imagine as a food founder, anything at any party, first thing they'll discuss, how's Nino doing? What's up? You should add this. You should add this. I was like, now I'm just like, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, you're right. So that's how that's evolved.
What is your current growth model? I think your model has changed over the last few years.
So actually the model the main changes only when we've gone from cloud kitchen only to QSR format. That has been the only change in the model. Everything else is the same. It's all company operated. It's all our employees, all of that. So like for us, that DNA switch, what Pranav was saying also, we started off in COVID trying to build delivery first, optimized for everything that Swiggy, Zomato track. And like we were like masters of KPT, so kitchen prep time, marking food ready, all these like top 10, 15 metrics across operations, food, and like just over employees that move the needle on the platform ranking. Across ads and ops.
I've never dived deeper into KPT.
Yeah.
How does KPT change from like a Francesco to a Nino to a car?
That's a good question. So Francesco and Nino would have around, I would say 13 minutes. Car would have like 9 minutes. It's all based, and also the thing is KPT is not like a flat thing. So the prep time depends on the hour of the day. So if you're doing it in like bottleneck time during dinner, it'll be higher, and during like randomly at lunch or post lunch, it'll be a little.
But is there something you benchmark and you track?
Yeah, so it depends. So like Francesco's like a pizza, for example, in the oven, it takes, it has to be there for 4 to 5 minutes. Or beyond that, for assembly, it needs another 2-3 minutes. And then packaging takes another 2-3 minutes. And then what happens in KPT typically is these bottleneck items. So we have pastas in our menu. Everything else is ready, but if a pasta takes longer, then that will hold up the entire order. Larger the order, more complicated the thing. Slow moving SKU comes in the order, then the guy has to thoda think. It's not at arm's reach. If the prep table, Misa table is not organized fast, the KPT will increase. So that's how, like Francesco and Nino, roughly most of it's assembly, but there is also a lot of cooking, say in Fran, it goes in the oven. Nino, obviously the frying happens. So again, that typically takes 4 to 5 minutes. So those brands have 13 minutes.
What are the top 5 behind the scene metrics that you think all restaurateurs and cloud kitchen owners should track? Like top 4 5.
I think KPT.
Oh, yeah, KPT is a big one. I would say the main one is food rating.
Yeah.
Like complaints and food rating is the main one.
100%.
That's the most leading indicator, like have to be above 4. or otherwise there's like
You
no
can't
point
get
doing anything
compl-
else.
can't get complacent in the business. You might have been in the business for a really long time, but the food quality has to be the same. When you order Francesco's every week, you want that same pizza you're ordering to taste the same. So I think the customer
Ratings
is like customer complaints checking, and customer ratings is the first thing we do in the morning to kind of get an idea of what's happening.
Like how yesterday went, ratings is what you would look at.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What would be the
Then
next
kitchen prep time, I would say second, or the faster you deliver, the larger radius you'll have, and the more customers will see you. Then I think mark food ready is an important metric where that basically tracks if your team is marking the food ready or not on time.
one? So
Sometimes
from the time the order
from-
hits you till
right.
food is
So
ready.
they have to mark food ready with signals to a delivery rider that come and pick up the food. A lot of times people try and mark it earlier or later. That accuracy affects either riders are coming and waiting for a while and they'll put that. You'll see rider wait time increase in your store and that affects the algo and it shows that these guys are not marking food ready on time. So marking food ready compliance means are you marking it 100% of the time? And second is are you marking it actually on time? Actually when the food is ready, not before. But some of these store managers think look मैं पहले ही mark कर देता हूँ, जल्दी आ जाएगा.
हाँ.
But usually that long run is not the move.
Nice.
Yeah. Then offline hours is
Yeah,
important.
that's a big one.
What is offline?
Offline hours is like, so right now we're just talking about like Zomato, Swiggy
Yeah.
metrics,
Correct.
right? Like otherwise, like internally there are other metrics also.
Correct,
But
of course.
for Zomato, Swiggy, offline hours is, so you are saying that you're going to stay open for 10 hours in the day, but you are only open for 9 hours in the day. That affects your ranking a lot.
Oh.
Because you're supposed to actually be online, say 10 to 10, but for some reason, like you got a rejection and your outlet went off, that affects your ranking on Zomato and Swiggy. So the best thing to do is zero offline hours. Cancellations always should be at zero, because what Zomato does is if you see like if an order gets cancelled, they'll shut your outlet off, and then you have to manually turn it on again.
Or it gets
wow.
rejected, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it shuts off your. So if you send a pizza, for example, and it's bad and whatever, and if I.
That'll go into a complaint.
That won't be.
It should
what
be a
is
rejected
rejection?
order. That
Yeah,
means if
rejected.
A customer has placed an order and the restaurant has said, no, I cannot service this order.
Oh.
For whatever reason,
okay, I
maybe this
thought.
pizza is out of stock. So the way to solve that is you mark it out of stock before the customer places the order.
Got it.
A
Oh, so
rejected
that-
order shuts the restaurant off.
So today, what do you think is the role of technology in running a food business? How important do you think technology is?
Very important. It's
Everything
actually an
runs
ops
on-
business more than a food business also. Food is okay, you create the food at once and you build the menu. But after you've created the food, 95% of the business operations. You're building SOPs, and this is also obviously at scale, not like a 1 or 2 location business. Beyond 2 locations or 3 is when it gets harder. I think just in everything, managing operations, managing people, and like tracking the right metrics. So you need tech for all of that.
Yeah.
Nice.
And also discovery, like with Nino, I mean, if we had just like a physical outlet, the way it went from 0 to say 100 would have been much longer. Like the discovery with technology is so much faster. Like we are with the for the first 3 brands that did fail, like we took some time with it, but for the next 3 brands, we knew in 3 weeks whether this brand is going to have
3
traction or
weeks?
not.
Oh,
We were
wow.
tracking metrics on a daily basis, and we had an idea, right? Like
Key.
how's the funnel looking? How much is your ads ROI? Like all those metrics, how's the rating going up and down? You get a good idea that, okay, this brand can be something or not, right? So we were able to like shut brands in
Faster.
weeks. Yeah, faster.
I think that iteration is so important that
Yeah.
if you stay with something that is giving you signs of failure early on, and you know you cannot pivot.
Yeah.
But many a times I see founders feeding it 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, and I think it's more of ego rather than they know it's
I
failed,
think it's ego
but they don't
and
want to they don't want to publicly agree.
And
it's
also
failed.
sunk cost mentality.
Correct.
So like that being able to allocate capital ruthlessly, like pulling it out where it's not working. Now we do that. Before, like even if we've shut locations as well. Like even if a location is not working, now we know the signs and we'll straight pull the plug. Because we'll save money. We don't have that sunk cost mentality the way we used to. But before we'll try this, we'll try that. Maybe this. Now we know top of funnel, menu to order ratio, what the ads percentage is. There are and then speak to customers. And you come to know what the vibe is, and then what do you
This reminds me, in poker, there is a term called pot committed.
Yeah.
Once you've put a certain amount, even if you know you have a losing hand, you know I have put this much, okay, put a
Yeah.
little more. You know you're losing, you're still going to put a little more because you've put something in this thing. So I've been wanting to do a TED talk for a long time. So one of my topics, we were looking at, hey, what makes you unique, different. So I play a lot. I used to play a lot of poker back in the day. So one of my topics, which I think we even have slides made for it, was business lessons from poker. And then I never landed up presenting that. Then my son got into chess in a very big way. So over the last few months, I've also created another one. Like, what are business lessons from chess? Because I've started playing chess because of him. He's at a much higher level. Like, he beats me like 9 or 10 games. He'll wallop me, and he will not be shy to dance over my grave. Like when like, he's like, you don't know, this is so simple. I'm like, you've been learning chess since 4.
How old is he?
He's 12.
Okay.
And he's been learning since 4, like 8 years. He's been at it, and he gets coaching and everything. So he is like a normal non-rated player. He will like cream you, and then he will laugh in your face, and he'll make you feel bad. Like, that's his thing. And I'm like, you can't be egoistic. So when he plays tournaments, then his ego is cut down to size, because then he's playing people who have trained like him or trained harder. And then he comes down to size. But it's very important to see how different aspects of non-business affect your business. I want you to share a learning that you've learned outside food business that you've applied in food business. So if you said that, hey, you worked in a few places. Is there any learning from your previous non-food business life that you'll end up applying in business?
So are you talking about like professionally what I've taken?
Personally,
personally, in the non-work side of life, it's actually the iceberg under the ocean. It's that only, right? It's actually more important than what you do when you come into the office. Because like everything in your non-work time and how your lifestyle is changes like your performance level on a daily basis, right? So for me, like at least I optimize heavily on that. So like work out every day, meditate every day, spend time with like family and friends, like be in the present. Because when we go to work, we're on our laptops, like we're on our phone checking our social pages. There are 3 brands. Like we're talking to our employees, like our mind is like flying, right?
Correct.
So what you do like off work is, I mean, for me, the most important. Of course, like once in a while, we obviously eat our own food, like because it's super tasty.
I love the
all 3 brands. Yeah.
So normally, whenever we do podcast days, we normally order lunch around 12:30. So it comes at 1:30, because normally the third podcast is by about 2:30.
Yeah.
So today, and we decide normally what we are going to order before. So today they were like, Francesco, Nino's coming. You're going to order Francesco. We're going to order Nino. So we normally try and order whoever is coming. We try and order their food.
Yeah.
And so that'll be interesting.
We can organize some car also.
And we'll get some cars. We'll get some car.
Yeah.
And so when you were scaling, what was one of the biggest challenges that you faced? Was it money, people, place, process?
I think we learned this over time, but I feel people, identifying and retaining the right people. In the beginning, we were not good at knowing what we wanted or what we needed. And now the problems we face with people are very different, right? Because now we're a much more attractive company to work for. But like say the problem now we would face is say the company outgrow people, because the company is growing faster than some people can. So it's a very different problem, where if we're growing 3x year on year and we're scaling fast, the kind of person you need in the beginning and the kind of person you need at the end, not everyone is scalable. So now we like intentionally spend a lot of time like upskilling the people that we have, because obviously the first, ideally, like we need to upskill and like get everyone to the best level. Like I'm not a fan of letting people go, but beyond a point, obviously it depends on what it looks like for the long term. So people has been a big, I think, piece, especially because we've not been from QSR. All of our learning has been from doing the job and like our mistakes. It's not like we've done any gig at like a McDonald's or KFC or any of these brands to know, this is the setup, this is a hierarchy. Everything has been learned first principles from scratch, and some stuff we're doing better as well than say the incumbents. But some stuff we're like, okay, look, this is a tester thing. Why reinvent the wheel? Just hire a person that spent a good amount of time at these large companies and learn from them.
What I've seen is people who come from outside the network or outside that industry typically land up doing very interesting things because they don't know what the norm is.
Yeah.
They will do what they think is logical, right? And if they're first principle thinkers, they will optimize for everything. So the inefficiencies that have crept into an industry, you don't even land up looking at them.
Yeah, if you be
Because you
naive
just don't
also
know
at a
them,
point.
right?
Yeah, I think you need to be naive at some point and just not know how hard it is also, I feel.
Absolutely.
So then you operate from, oh, cool, like I'll go into work today. How bad can it be? After 4 years, we know how bad it can be, but now we're also better at dealing with it. So,
So in our industry, most of like almost 99.9% of labs, the founder is either a chemist or a microbiologist, or they come from that industry, right? I think I've not met till now another lab founder who has not been that. I'm a computer science guy with an MBA in marketing. Why am I running a laboratory?
Yeah.
When I started, I used to feel like, oh my God, this is going to be our biggest weakness. And oh, people are going to call me out on like, oh, how are you running a lab? Like, you're not in a chemist. Like, what do you know about testing? But then since I didn't know anything about it, I learned everything about it. Right? Two, then I realized, hey, once there are amazing people out there who know 10 times, 100 times more than me about this, let's go find the best of the best. Whatever it costs, whatever it takes to get them there, let's get them there and let's give them the freedom to operate. Now, today, there are times I may not even step into a physical laboratory. There are, out of our 6 labs, there are 2 labs I have not stepped foot in. I've not stepped foot. They were built in the pandemic. They are operating today. They're growing, they're scaling without me stepping foot. Yes, I met the teams on Zoom. I've not stepped foot. And it's operating, it's got enable approval, it's got all the approvals also. I've not stepped foot. I think that's such a great job done by my team that they were able to do all this without me being involved. And I think as a founder and as a serial entrepreneur, having that ability to identify the right folk, figuring out how to retain them. And I think retaining people can be very simple. Give them challenging work, give them freedom, give them authority, give them the freedom to make mistakes. Of course, you pay them market above market. But many a times it's not, most people think it's about pay and market above. It's about these first 3-4 things.
Yeah.
If these 2-3 things are right, this people, and if you're at market, they're fine.
Yeah.
You can't be paying half of our market is paying, obviously nobody's going to stay with you, right? But if you are able to give them the freedom to learn new things, to make mistakes, give them that recognition for good work that they do, give them teams, give them freedom to choose their teams. I think people love being there because they're in charge. Like the entire department is in charge. Like every of my department has one head. Anything in the department, good, bad, ugly, boss, you're responsible. It's your baby. You want to hire people, you want to hire 5 people, hire. You want to fire 4 people, you fire. You decide. But what I've been able to do is that leadership team, the core values of all theirs, align with mine, align with what we've done for business. My vision, their vision of what we are building together aligns, right? What are you looking for when you hire leaders at Nino?
You want to take this or I'll take
yeah, so this is a good one. So this we've also refined over time. Now, honestly, I think energy and enthusiasm is a very big part. I feel just like that, what do you call agency, where the metric we use is, okay, look, I've read this somewhere, if you're trying to get out of a third world prison, would you call this person or not? Like, would they be able to solve 20 tough problems but get the job done? I think, and also figuring whether a person has agency is very tough in an interview. So we typically do like these practical interviews where we make them spend a day with us, and we pay them if we don't hire them, but we make them spend 2 or 3 days with us, like as though they have already joined. And say, okay, you assume you've already joined, spend time with us, and now you pretend and you just do work. That is more effective than any interview process.
Nice.
That we have seen.
Nice.
Obviously, it's contingent on if they are able to, if they can take leave from the current work, or if they don't have current work, then it's obviously easier. But that I felt is because other interview is very tough. Like in 3-4 hours, 3-4 meetings, how do you find out if you're getting a guy for 3 to or girl for 3 to 10 years? So I think enthusiasm is probably like number 1 for me. I think second depends on the role as well, but like raw intelligence. Just are they analytical? Can they solve problems well? And can they structure and communicate their thoughts clearly? And when people are very talkative or say too many words, when a few will do, it's a sign that they're not able to like be succinct about this is what I feel. And in an interview you can tell when the guy is continuously rambling, the confident person will stop talking. Usually a good interview is when I'll ask him a question or her a question, and they'll answer, okay, like why did you leave a previous job? There'll be one angle where, I did this, I keep talking, and one will be like, the reason I left was I felt like I wasn't fulfilled.
But
and he'll stop talking. And he's comfortable with uncomfortable silences. When they are comfortable with uncomfortable silences, then you know like this guy is confident. And so I think that is a big piece. And last one is I think integrity. Apart from technical skills, which comes under the intelligence bracket. So
I think integrity is something you will find out over time.
over time, but I feel like you can get a pulse of, are they in it for the right reasons? Like, do they have that right energy and that vibe? You can tell with, so integrity, you're right, you can find out later. But like that vibe check is very important. So the check we use is, can we see ourselves doing lunch with this person often? Can we do dinner with them? Will they vibe with the rest of the team? So I think this broadly.
So one of the
these things.
filters I'll end up using is, I imagine that this person is working here. How is he or she going to get along with the rest of whoever they're going to work with?
Right.
How is he or she going to get along with all the leaders who they're
Yeah.
going to work with, right? Because finally, like the culture of a company is set by what happens when leaders are not around. If I'm not in office,
Yeah.
how people talking to each other? If the leaders are not in office, how people talking to each other? How are they communicating? Are they, rash? Are they brash? Do they give each other respect? Do they help each other? Are they having fun? Like for us, our core values are something that are very, very core to us. Like I do this exercise and my HR team hates me for it. Whenever new teammates join, at the end of the month, I meet everyone who's joined in that month. And I will randomly ask people like, hey, what is your favorite core value? Or hey, do you know all your we have 6 core values. Do you know all 6? And if they don't know, and I know this sounds very bad, they have to write it down 100 times.
Nice. That's an old school trick.
That's a very old school trick.
Yeah.
No, that's not the embarrassing part. The embarrassing part, their boss has to write it down 100 times.
Oh, that's a good one.
That is
the boss one is a good one. Yeah.
It's happened very rarely. But the point is, the reason I didn't tell them, and HR also tells them this, you better know it because he's going to make you, is because it's a sign that, hey, this is really important. I really need you all to understand how we operate.
Yeah.
Where we're headed is great. Your mission vision is fantastic. But how do we treat each other? How do we treat our customers, right? So one of my mentors, and I've read this also in many books, that if you want to create a scalable company, you take care of teammates because the teammates are taking care of your customers. It's not you directly taking care of customers, right? You take care of your teams and your teams take care of customers. So how do you treat your teams? How do you treat each other? It's such an important task. Like there are times we fired customers. Why? They abused our teammates.
Yeah.
I'm like, you cannot pay, that's your right. You can complain, that's your right. You can say, I never want to work with you, that's your right.
Yeah.
You abusing my teammate, not right. I've gone out. There's no compromise. Somebody abuses my teammate, I'll personally get onto the call, I will blast the crap out of them, and I'm like, thank you, please don't work with us.
Yeah.
There was one of my favorite instances was there was this colonel who was heading one of the clubs. He was the admin head, and he was just going at it like he was abusing one of my customer care girls. And I saw her crying. And I'm like, what happened? Why are you crying? She didn't come to me. I saw her like, are we crying? What happened? She's like, no, nothing. I'm like, tell me what happened to me. If you're sitting in office crying, something obviously happened. Like something happened at home. Where what? Like at office, somebody said something. Some customer said something. She's like, no, customer said something. Which customer? This guy. 10 seconds later, I'm talking to the guy. And I gave him a blasting of his life. I'm like, you raise your voice one more time. I will find you. Where you are.
Like Liam Neeson.
Right? And he's like, oh, I was a colonel in the army. I'm like, thank you for your service, but I don't give a shit right now if you're a colonel or not. You abuse my people, I'm going to war with you. After 10 minutes, both of us had calmed down. He said one thing. He's like, I'm so happy you stood up for your team. Because I've not seen that happen. He's like, see, he agreed. He's like, I'm a hothead. Somebody goes in with this off. Because he's like, that's how I've been operating my whole life.
Yeah.
I go off. But at the same time, if somebody does that to my soldiers, I would do the same thing you did. And he's like, I respect that. And after that, literally 15 minutes later, we are laughing on the phone. And this girl has come in the room and she's wondering, like, I heard you yelling. Like, I was yelling so loudly, you could hear outside. My cabin was closed. So she also came to wonder, it's okay, don't have to go so hard. And she heard me yelling, then she heard me calm. And then she heard me laughing.
Yeah.
She's like, what kind of person are you laughing? And we are making coffee plans. And I met the gentleman for coffee a few days later, right?
Good.
But I think when the team sees that, hey, you're willing to go for war for them, they will go for war for you.
Also,
Right, so-
the fourth one is accountability. Like, it's at least at this stage, because if you hire a person and at the rate we are growing, there's so many mini projects happening. So when we communicate that on email and say, okay, now this needs to get done, if we have to follow up with them too much, it's not a good sign. Because we are getting out of our hustle to go back to something that we had already communicated to find out whether they're doing it or not, right? Versus like guys who just like take it on and they come to you and they come and they're like, okay, yeah, you told me this, so I needed this question answered from your side to complete it. that
They come back with a roadblock, they
Yeah.
come back with a doubt, they come back to you rather
Yeah.
than you following up.
exactly.
So in one of my other businesses, my business partner there and I mean, he more than me believes that we should invest every year very heavily in self-learning, like improving ourselves, right? So every year we'll hire like a coach or somebody or whatever. We'll do something. Somebody comes and teaches us. So we had hired a CEO coach. And so she trains like the Fortune 500 CEOs in US, and we flew down to India, and she wasn't willing to come down. So then we had to literally bribe her, like, okay, we'll send you to Taj, and you'll get to see that. And then she finally came. Cost us an arm and a leg. She spent 2 days with us.
Yeah.
And at the end of 2 days, she's like, Ashwin, you have the easiest job in the whole company. And I'm like, please tell me. And then I don't know why I'm working like 12, 14 hour days. Then if I have the easiest job. So she's like, see, with everyone you interact, she's like, you don't do work with your hands. You don't sit in the lab. You're not doing testing. You're not answering customer emails by hand directly, right? You're not making like calls, frontline calls. So she's like, all you need to do is take commitments from your leaders and make sure that they hold up to their commitments.
Yeah.
And she made it sound so simple. It's true, but it's very difficult to pull off because many times there are people you're giving work to already have 7 things and you're putting on the 8th thing on their plate. And many times you don't have visibility, there's no space and nobody says no. So I've actually told my teammates now, especially my senior leaders, there's so many new things we do.
Yeah.
And my team's always like, hey, we also want to be part of that. I'm like, one sec.
Yeah.
What's on your plate? Oh, you're handling this, and that. Do you have really this space for this? It's not a small plate. It's this big a plate and that's your table size. It's going to overflow. And my leaders have started understanding why I'm doing it and they're comfortable me not giving them new projects, which may sound exciting. They're like, oh yeah, I have enough on my plate. So realizing that you have enough on your plate is sometimes enough. Like right now, there are 3 new things I want to do. I've kept all of them on back burner. My old me would have been like, chal, let's go. I'm like, one sec, I need to look at this personally. I don't have the bandwidth. Maybe end of the year, maybe next year. Having that intelligence and that maturity, it's taken me a long way, 20 years or 19 years to get to that.
Yeah.
What is something that you really, really want to do but haven't tried yet? Like you really want to try it, but you just haven't gotten to it.
Making a fizzy drink in a can.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It'll happen in 6 to 12 months. Not done it yet.
Yeah.
That's something you want. Like, but is it under like a Nino brand or it's its own brand?
Because right now, no, it'll be served in all our brands, no?
Yeah.
So right now,
it's meant to be served only with your brands or you also want it on shelves?
that we'll see. If it works with our brands, then we'll see.
Think of shelves.
But we'll do Q-commerce first to start with, other than our brand.
Basically, but we're very also particular about focus now. Because we've been in a stage where we've not been focused and now we are in a stage where we're laser focused. So anything that even changes by 1 degree where we think 10 times should we do this or not. So when we have that bandwidth and we feel okay, it's growing fast and it's got 20 locations now, we'll hit maybe 80, 100 next year. Is it controlled and can we maybe move focus to new product development with this drink? Then we'll do it. So I think...
You all were a part of Y Combinator?
Yeah.
How was that experience?
I think before Y Combinator, we were holding ourselves to a much lower bar, I would say. And then I think once we did get into Y Combinator, that gave us, fueled us with this self-confidence to hold the bar much higher and try and achieve bigger things month on month and year on year. So for us, personally, it was a super positive. We were okay, now we're playing at this level now and this is what we should aim for. And so everything changed, right? That way. Because first we were trying to find our confidence in the industry. Okay, we had bought one brand, one other brand worked out. Now what do we do from here? So it gave us a lot more confidence and clarity to aim for bigger things. And I think otherwise, network wise, the advice that we do get from them, these guys are talking to at least 25 to 50 companies a day, right? Across industries. So they literally have answers for any questions you have for your specific industry. So I thought that was great, right? We got to also see a lot of interviews, again, semi-personal. I would say 10-15 people in a Zoom call with the Razorpay founders, and just you get a good idea about how these guys are thinking, all the billion-dollar companies. So I think there was a good amount of exposure there. Again, that fuels your confidence again to dream to be at that level as well, right? So yeah, I would say obviously 100% positive. It's a great badge also to have, I think.
Of course.
Even for personal.
Yeah, I think very strong community. Anyone that's in YC can really help for whatever could be work or non-work related, and they're good with helping with fundraising, just because they have the right mindset in terms of how do you fundraise, because this is the first time we were fundraising, right? So we hadn't done it before. So that really helped with that as well, because I think they are good with general advice. They are not maybe amazing with India specific advice. Because they don't have any office in India, they don't have a team in India. They have obviously Indians working for them, but say maybe like that full depth in say food tech or in cloud kitchen and all, they may not have all the answer, but they'll connect to you or figure out a way to get the answer.
Nice.
But like if you ask a strategy or how many people should I hire or how should I think about my burn rate or how much money should I raise or things like that, very good answer. Like really high quality thought. They ask you the right questions as well. So then you think, okay, this is the way to think about it. Because they've seen a lot of companies die over their tenure and they know what not to do is very well.
So this is a two-part question. When did you realize that you needed money to raise money? And two, how difficult or easy was that process?
I think 2-3 locations in, when we realized that we have ambitions and not that much patience, we realized we wanted to raise money.
Nice.
So that we can do the same thing maybe in double the time, where we maybe don't have to raise money, and that's also a very good way to build a business. So that's when we thought, look, we need to raise, and we spoke to a bunch of Indian investors and we got on a YC, so then we did that. And post YC, it took us about, I would say 2.5 months to close out our seed round.
Oh, not bad.
And because we raised mostly through safe notes, it was faster because there's much less paperwork. Money is wired in 24 hours and it's a bit smoother with the whole process the way it is with US and India. So that's how we did it.
Awesome. I'm going to change gears now to something very Indian, which is FSSAI. What are your thoughts on FSSAI? What do you think? Is it good? Is it bad? What is it doing wrong? What can it do better?
Honestly, we don't spend too much time thinking about it.
We just need our FSSAI to start operating our
License and you're good to
I
go.
honestly don't even have an opinion. Like for me, FSSAI is just like, it's like a check box.
Tick box.
Yeah.
Okay, license aa gaya.
Yeah, where I need it and
You got it and
operate.
moved on. So it's not, because I've been working very closely with FSSAI for a long time. I'm one of the national advisors, and what I've realized is, for brands who are starting out very small, it can be such a painful activity to get their first license the first time. Now it's become a lot easier because the whole process has moved online, so it's become a lot easier, right? From a general public perspective, they always expect that, oh, the government body will ensure that food is safer and government body is testing everything and the government body is auditing everything. But in reality, that's not what's happening. It's finally coming down to the brand to do what they're supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
How important do you think food safety is for a food brand?
Extremely. It's the most important thing. It's very important. And the thing is, I get what your point is right. That right now, because of the way the regulations are, it's a lot of like self-regulation that you need to do as well. That's why I think over time also in pure cloud kitchens, people are losing trust. That you don't know where the food's coming from and what the scene is. And if you trust, if there's a face, if you've seen it, then you can at least have that. If you see how clean the kitchen is.
Correct.
Very important. I think just overall cleanliness, FIFO methods, your equipment working or not. You follow
But a
this
lot
veg,
of
non-veg
that food
segregation.
safety, you have to, like a lot of the needs of FSSAI or just food safety. Those are things that you all learned while you're operating.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we had people that were from the industry for a while, right? So
they
while we
were-
are new, the people below us were all old
Fantastic.
in terms of tenure, in terms of being in the space. So then,
My last question would be, how important do you think founder-led brand is? Like where the founders' faces are more recognized than the brand. For example, Tesla, Elon Musk, or Ratan Tata and Tata Group. Like, what are your thoughts on founder-led brands?
Yeah, you can go first and I'll go if you want.
I feel like it's different for every company. We maybe have not done that much founder-led stuff. Maybe we need to do more.
But do you think it adds value?
It adds value for sure. Again, it's opportunity cost and the time where the founder is spending time. Definitely adds value. But what I feel is more important than founder-led brand is like how involved is the founder in the weeds of the company. So like this whole founder mode concept, which is very recent, this Paul Graham of YC's talked a lot about. This founder mode thing is becoming a big deal. And just where like it talks about, which I really resonated with personally, is that this whole, it's not bad to micromanage. it's not bad to like over communicate, to get really involved in the weeds, to do these L2 meetings where you meet with the not immediate reports, but the reports below them to gauge how well your direct reports are doing. So getting really in the weeds, like where only a founder can really know what is wrong with the company if they've been running it for say more than 2 or 3 years and they have that feel of there's something wrong. No one that's like a manager or leadership level person also will know that this is what you need to do or be able to like channel all energy to that one thing. So I personally feel founder led, like that internal structure is way more important. But definitely founder led brand has its place of importance.
I love the L2 meetings. What I also realized when you're saying that is I don't think I'm doing enough L2, L3 meetings as I should. My most of our meetings are with L1s.
Yeah.
Right. It's not, I mean, sometimes some L2s, but I don't think I've done an L3 meeting in a longest time.
One metric in your performance review should just be like, how do L2 speak of that person? And obviously they'll usually not say anything bad, but based on like, so if you have clear KPIs of what the people below your people have to do, whether they're on track to achieve it or not, and whether how in tune their boss is to what space they are in, or like how fast they are moving.
Love it.
And if the judgment is on the same page, then you can gauge the performance of your direct report based on how their team is doing.
Nice.
And how insecure they feel that you are meeting directly with the team. So that should be the first thing when you say, look, I'm going to meet directly with the team all the time and without telling you. So you please be on the same page as that. Like it's not going to, that's just how things are.
And so there used to be one leader, I mean, back in the day, whenever I used to talk to their -1s, the minute that -1 left my cabin, the leader would go and ask, what happened?
Yeah.
Why did he call you? What did he say about me?
Tells you a lot.
What did he ask about me? What did he say about me? The leader saying nothing to do with you. It was something project had given me. But that shows that insecurity.
Yeah.
Right? I'm so happy that today I don't think any of the leaders have that. Today at least, I mean, we've reached that after a while.
Yeah.
But I don't think, at least at Equinox, any leaders have that insecurity that why did this person talk to my junior when I'm there? Or, oh, did they say something about me? Or was it to check up on what I'm doing?
Yeah.
And what I've even taught my leaders, if you have that insecurity, that's something you need to really work on personally, because you shouldn't. And if you have that, means there is something wrong. You need to kind of go to that inner work. What are your thoughts on?
Wait, what is the question again?
Once again, I forgot the question.
So the influencer.
Founder-led, thank you.
So again, like I think with the food, I think with any industry, if you have a following or if you have an influence, like you already have a base that you can market to faster, right? So, which is what Elon is doing, right? But he's obviously doing it at a very different level. But I would say like it is more positive if me and Nishant would have a following of our own and then we start a brand. It would have a certain amount of pull versus like us in the shadows starting like a car where we would have to do like our formula of marketing to kind of get it to PMF.
Nice.
So yeah, I would say like for sure it's influencer led out. Like I'm heavy influencer marketing. So
the other day I was talking to somebody. They said, you know what? I have invested in the best influencer. I was like, who? They're like, me.
Yeah.
Like myself, like as a founder, like I've invested in me and I am now the influencer. And that was a very interesting thought. Okay. Last question. If somebody is starting a food brand, what is the one piece of advice each one would give? Start with.
Make sure that you, whatever working capital you think you need, double it. Most businesses don't fail because of lack of investment in capex, it's because of lack of investment in working capital. So if you have 10 of capex and 10 of working capital, make it 10 and 15 so that you can survive. It's a survival game. And you'll figure out, if you're smart, you'll figure out things on how to survive. So I think that working capital piece for survival is very important.
And
yeah, so I'll give two parts. Like the one to look out for on the slightly on the negative side is that if it's not a very sexy business, it's a very ops heavy business, as Nishant said. So
correct.
Only if you love it, then do it.
Do it.
And the positive is that like once your brand does hit PMF, like you have to do a lot negatively to destroy that. So it's like it is quite protected once it's hit PMF and it's operating for like 3-4 years. So that's the positive of the business.
Nice.
Like yeah.
Cool. Guys, I'm so glad that you're able to come on Breaking the Ceiling. Francesco is a brand I've really admired. I've really admired Nino Burgers. I have not tried Kha yet. I will try Kha today. So I will, then I'll give some feedback on Kha as well. Unfortunately, I am brutally honest with my feedback.
That's good.
And some people like it, some people hate it, because I will tell you to your face, hey man, what I had was absolute shit.
Yeah,
Or what I
they
had
totally
was, if I say hey, it was brilliant, that's genuine. And if I say it was shit, is also very genuine, because literally yesterday I'm having lunch with somebody and I was like, and they were like, you know what, we're able to get customers faster, but we're not getting repeat. I'm like, that's because this product doesn't work. Product is shit. You need to really get your product right for the person to buy again. The first time somebody bought because your marketing was great.
Yeah.
Second time person not because your marketing was great, because your product is good. Otherwise, nobody's buying the second or third time, right? So guys, thank you so much for taking up the time and coming and breaking the ceiling. I learned so much from both of you. And the reason I do these podcasts is not for the shorts and the videos, is because I want to learn. And every person I've interviewed, I personally take back one thing. It could be right from how they speak, mannerisms, to their values, to how they operate.
What did you take for this one?
I knew you were going to ask me that
I'm
one.
going to put him on the spot.
What I loved about what you said is the whole L2 piece.
Okay.
Right? Like me, I don't think I spend enough time with L2, L3s, which I'm going to take back, for sure. And what you spoke about, mental health and, being like the energy that you spend on yourself before work, like the non-work hours, affecting your work hours, that is something that I've been focusing on, but not as much.
Yeah.
And I'm going to focus on that a lot more. I don't meditate now, but I'm going to find out. I mean, I'm probably going to get a 15 minutes earlier every day and start meditating.
Do a 10 minute and see the difference.
See the difference. Right? So I work out every single day, like Saturday, Sunday, whatever. Work out, either there's gym or paddle.
Yeah.
One of those two has to happen.
Yeah.
And but that's helped. That's helped tremendously. Mental clarity, physical, just that inner strength that you feel. Because see, as we get older, we are going to slow down.
Yeah.
But if you have a sport in your life, if you are working out, you are able to stay mentally more agile for way longer.
Yeah.
Like my dad is 72. He works like he's 30.
Yeah.
Like he will never sit still. He's like, he got awarded top 10 travelers globally
Wow.
in 2018-19 by Airbnb. Till now, he travels like crazy. Why? Because he's like, I can. He's like, and I'm like, the reason he's, I would say aging very gracefully is because he's working that hard. If he was just sitting at home, that would have been a very, sharp decline in everything. But today he's fit. He works out every single day, does yoga every single day, talks to people every day. He's doing work. Yeah. By the way, the secret sauce of why we were able to grow as fast in terms of setting up more facilities is not me, is my dad. Yeah. He is the one who actually helped me go from 2 to 4 facilities in 6 months. Wow. Without him living his living room or me living this, he stays close by. Like, that's it. And in middle of the pandemic, so we're not in meeting in person. We're doing all of this on phone and Zoom. Amazing. More him than me. He built 4 facilities. We're now building a 1.7 lakh square foot building. Nice. Let me rephrase. He's building a 1.7 lakh square foot building. Yeah. He's the one planning everything out. Yeah, we were like, we announced how we're building. But that's it. After that, he's taken over. Yeah. Because that's his joy to live. Like, that, what is the right, there's a French word. Joy de vivre or something, which is basically like reason to live. That's his thing. Like, he's a architect stuck in an engineer's body. So he ran an engineering company. He and my mom ran an engineering company. They sold it a few years ago. But then his architect in him has come out. He's loving that life.
Amazing.
And he loves, like, he'll get down. He knows every nail and screw in the entire bit. Like, all our facilities, all our buildings, again, have been built by him.
Yeah.
He will know every screw and every pipe because he's designed it himself.
Wow.
And so that engineer and architect makes it such a potent combination, which got me thinking. And I was having a conversation with the head of Subway, now who's moved on to another role, who's heading Compass now. But he was saying that, hey, what is your unique proposition? I'm like, oh, you mean USP for the company? They're like, no. USP for you as a founder, your leaders, and your company put together. What is unique that you have that nobody in your industry has? I was like, okay, I've never thought of that. And he started spelling it out for me. He's like, you are very social friendly as a person, as a founder. Your team is very social friendly. You guys are killing it on online. You have your in-house marketing team. You have your in-house tech team. You guys do podcasts. You do this. You do that. And he's like, how many people in your industry do this? I was like, I have not seen anyone. He's like, that's one of your USPs. He's like, double down on that, because till anyone even starts and they catch up, they're way behind. He's like, figure out your USPs and just go all guns. And that's been helping. That's been helping quite a bit. So the podcast has a twofold effect. One is what I learned from you guys. Two, this all will go as content on social shorts, and
Yeah.
anyone I meet, my team would have added on LinkedIn. If I'm going to meet you next week, my team would have added you on LinkedIn, Insta, all these places. So whenever I meet people, new people, and for business, they already know me. And it's such an unfair advantage.
Yeah.
Because they already feel like they know you, like you, and trust you.
Yeah.
And I've just shooken hands with the guy for the first time. And he's like, oh, I saw you there with something. But that already creates that likability, that familiarity. But it helps in that perspective. So every meeting, I walk in like I'm meeting friends. And I walk out like better friends, closer friends.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. Right. So, but anyway, thank you all so much for sharing, and thank you for putting me on the spot and picking out what I've learned.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
This was so much fun. And we keep hosting food founder events. I don't know if you're a part of our food founder ecosystem.
We are, but not very active.
Okay, that's fine. But whenever you need something, put it there. We're actually starting an app which will help you make it easier to find vendors, partners, and maybe connect with the community if you ever need to. I don't know how you all have done collabs, but that's a great place that people find people to collab with as well. Like because brands you don't know directly whether they're there, it just creates an easier platform to connect as well. And we do every 2-3 months a food founder club where we kind of book out a restaurant, like the entire restaurant, and we get like 40 food founders in a room and no agenda, just connect.
Nice.
Those things get sold out in minutes because I realize that people want to connect with other founders. They just don't know where. Like if I land up mentoring a lot of companies. When I ask founders, hey, how many other people do you know in the industry? 2, 3. Like, yeah, you should know at least like 10-20 folks in your industry. Like, how can you know 2-3? So I wanted to solve that problem, that if you're going through something, other people have gone through it.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be a lonely journey, right? If you have a problem and somebody else also has the same problem, you should be in a place where you can discuss that problem, not figure out that solution by yourself by making 10 mistakes. Ask in a place which is like safe to ask, where nobody's judging you. And so that's what I'm trying to create with the whole food founder ecosystem. And in those meetings, all that happens. And then we also once in a while do a food tasting. That's more for fun. Like over here, so 10-15 people will come, bring their products. This is more for smaller brands who want to get feedback on, like, oh, I'm making this. What do you think? What do you think? I'm facing this problem. I'm facing a challenge with, let's say, shelf life of this product. What can you do? And there'll be somebody else who'll be like, hey, can you try this? I'll connect you to somebody. So these micro meetings become so much fun. You all should, whenever.
No, we'd love to do these micro meetings because, sometimes we are doing the 0 to 1, right? And it would be great to kind of meet these people to solve problems.
18th, we are doing one here. If you all are free, both.
I think Ritu. Are you Ritu by any chance?
No, she's Jaya. Okay. Sorry, I didn't introduce you. Jaya and Rajas.
The main man that are making the content.
She messaged me.
Now you all come in front of the camera. We want to talk to you guys.
No, but thank you so much for having